Tonight, you might send a heart emoji to someone you like. Maybe you'll overthink a text for 20 minutes. Maybe your palms will sweat before a first date. It feels modern. It feels like something invented by dating apps and rom-coms. But the real answer is far stranger. Love, the racing heart, the obsessive thinking, the desperate need to be chosen, is not new at all. It is older than language, older than fire, maybe. Your ancestors felt it too, tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote a love song. So what did falling in love actually look like, back before flowers, before rings, before a single spoken word of poetry existed? Start with the body. Your heart doesn't know what century it's in. When you feel that flutter of attraction, you're running a program that is close to 2 million years old. Anthropologist Helen Fisher spent decades scanning the brains of people newly in love, and she found something remarkable. The brain regions that light up are not the ones linked to emotion in the way you'd expect. They're linked to motivation and reward, the same circuitry that drives craving and addiction. Falling in love, biologically speaking, looks a lot like wanting a drug. Why would evolution build that into you? Because pair bonding solved a brutal problem. Human babies are born helpless, painfully helpless. A newborn zebra can stand and run within minutes. A human infant can't even lift its own head. That helplessness stretches out for years, not days. And a mother alone, in a world of predators and food scarcity, could not always keep a helpless infant alive by herself. She needed help. Consistent, reliable, devoted help. So love became a survival strategy. Anthropologists believe early pair bonding wasn't about candlelight, it was about calories and protection. A partner who stayed close, who shared food, who fought off danger, who helped guard a vulnerable infant, was a partner whose children were more likely to survive. Attraction wasn't random, it was quietly, invisibly, selecting for loyalty. But here's where it gets strange. If love was just about survival math, it should feel practical. It doesn't. It feels overwhelming. It feels irrational. Why? Because your ancestors needed a signal stronger than logic. Logic is slow. Logic can be talked out of things. A mother weighing pros and cons might abandon a bond the moment things got difficult. And in the ancient world, things got difficult constantly. So, evolution didn't give you a calm calculation. It gave you obsession. It gave you a flood of dopamine so intense that early humans would take real risks, travel real distances, endure real hardship, just to stay near the person they'd bonded with. Fisher called this the craving system, and she argued it evolved specifically to keep partners together long enough to raise a child through its most fragile years. So what did courtship actually look like? Tens of thousands of years ago, there was no dating app, there was no swiping, but there was flirting, and evidence of it survives in some surprising places. Archaeologists have found ochre, a red pigment, used on bodies as far back as 100,000 years ago, likely for decoration. Some researchers, including archaeologist Ian Watts, argue this early body art wasn't just symbolic status. It was, in part, about attraction, bright markings, unusual patterns, deliberate self-presentation. Sound familiar? It should. You still do a version of it every time you get ready before seeing someone you like. Music may have played a role too. Some researchers, notably Jeffrey Miller, have proposed that early human creativity, singing, dancing, storytelling, functioned almost like a peacock's tail, not strictly necessary for survival, but a display of health, intelligence, and energy. A body that could dance for hours, sing complex songs, or invent clever stories was, in a way, advertising itself as a strong genetic partner. Miller called this sexual selection for the mind itself. Falling in love with someone's wit or creativity might not be a coincidence. It might be ancient, but not all early love followed the same rules everywhere. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, communities like the Hadza in Tanzania, offer a rough window into what ancient courtship might have resembled. Among many hunter-gatherer groups, pair bonds do form, often described using words close to our idea of love. But they can also be fluid. Separation and repartnering are common and carry little stigma. This suggests that ancient love may have prioritized what worked for survival and cooperation over any fixed, permanent ideal. Which raises an odd question. Was ancient love more honest than modern love? There's a case to be made. Without marriage contracts, without social pressure to perform a perfect relationship for an audience, a bond either worked or it didn't. If it stopped serving both people and both people's children, it often ended quietly, without scandal. Compare that to how much modern relationships carry: financial entanglement, public image, family expectation, and you start to wonder how much of what you feel about love today is instinct, and how much is added weight from a much newer world. Still, something ancient survives underneath all of that weight. Consider jealousy. Uncomfortable, universal, deeply human jealousy. Evolutionary psychologists like David Buss have studied this extensively and found strikingly consistent patterns across cultures. Jealousy isn't a flaw in the system, it's a feature. It exists because, ancestrally, an unfaithful partner threatened everything: resources, protection, the survival odds of your children. Feeling a jolt of jealousy when someone flirts with your partner isn't some modern insecurity. It's an alarm system your ancestors needed to keep their bond and their offspring intact. Even heartbreak has ancient roots. That physical ache, the tightness in your chest, the inability to eat, is not just poetic language. Researchers have found that the brain processes intense social rejection using some of the same pathways involved in physical pain. Losing a partner in the ancient world wasn't just emotionally devastating, it could be logistically catastrophic: less protection, less food sharing, a higher risk of not surviving the season. Heartbreak hurts because, once, it genuinely threatened your life. So when you think about it, nothing about falling in love today is separate from the past. It's layered on top of it. You text someone back too quickly because your brain still runs on a reward system built for scarcity and risk. You feel a flicker of jealousy because that flicker once protected entire family lines. You feel your chest tighten after a breakup because loss once meant real danger. None of it is irrational. It's ancient software, running quietly underneath a very modern interface. Here's the strange, almost comforting part. Every awkward first date, every overthought message, every irrational wave of longing connects you to a chain of humans stretching back over 100,000 years. Someone, somewhere in that chain, felt exactly what you're feeling now, painted their skin to be noticed, sang to be remembered, stayed close to someone through hunger and danger simply because their body told them to. You didn't invent love, you inherited it. So the next time your heart races before seeing someone, or your stomach drops when they don't text back, remember what's actually happening. You're not being irrational. You're not being weak. You're running one of the oldest programs your species has ever built. A program so effective it kept humanity alive long enough to invent everything else: poetry, music, cities, civilization itself. All of it, in a very real sense, was built on top of two people who simply couldn't stay away from each other. And tonight, when your heart races over a heart emoji, you're not doing something new at all. You're doing the oldest thing your species has ever done.